The Kenyan police said they have arrested more than 270 persons masquerading as protesters who are suspected of going on a criminal rampage during the anti-government rallies on Tuesday. Widespread looting and property damage was reported during the youth-led demonstrations in various cities across the country, which some protesters said have been infiltrated by goons. Well, joining me on the program at this time are three amazing individuals to discuss this. Caleb Wanga is the coordinator of Usalama Reforms Forum from Nairobi, Kenya. I also have Junecynthia Okelo, an associate economic governance officer, Pan-African Lawyers Union, and Arusha, that's Union Arusha, Tanzania. I also have, of course, with me these amazing individuals. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
All right. Great. Let me start off with you, Junecynthia. Can you just give us an overview? What is going on right now in Kenya as regards the protest, and what exactly are young persons saying?
Right. Thank you so much, first of all, for having us on this show. First of all, I wasn't sure if you're talking to me because I think my name is Junecynthia, because I thought you said Jacinta, so I was wondering who you're talking to.
Oh, Junecynthia, thank you for that.
Yeah. So first of all, we are talking about anti-government protests that are going on in Kenya right now. Protests that started, first of all, as a rejection towards the finance bill that had been tabled in Parliament. This finance bill actually sparked a lot of uproar and outrage from what we know as Gen Z and most of the millennials. And that is why you see that people are talking about the young people leading these protests. So, first of all, the finance bill had really outrageous provisions like taxing bread, taxing cancer treatments and all that. And that's why people were very angry. You'll see on Twitter, you'll see on TikTok, people talking about it. People read this bill. People were urged to read this bill through social media, and they went ahead and read it. And that is why you see mobilization like we've never seen before, mobilization where there's no specific leader that has been identified. So after this, you see that as things went on, protesters who are initially very peaceful have now been infiltrated by goons. Protesters who were only carrying bottles of water and placards in their hands have now been infiltrated by goons who are actually wielding weapons in their hands and have now turned these demonstrations into something that it was originally not. So you see, right now, the protest had already changed from the finance bill to now anti-government, to now asking the president to deal with the corruption in his government, to deal with extrajudicial killings. We've seen many people being killed during this protest, and that is why right now we're talking of a different story, even if the president rejected the finance bill. So we're now talking about Ruto must go. We're now talking about dissolve parliament. We're talking about change the cabinet, dissolve cabinet and appoint new cabinet secretaries and all those things. So yeah, there's a very huge turnover. And it's a very, very interesting thing that is going on right now. And I think it has inspired many African countries, the route that Kenya is taking. I think I'll talk more about it later.
All right. Well, let me go to Caleb on this one. Caleb, talking about inspiration, we know that since the protest started, it's been on social media across Africa. There's been comments. Many, of course, sort of given the youths of the country, the Gen Z, so to speak, kudos for being that voice, speaking out and demanding their rights. But also, there are some in certain quarters that are saying that maybe they've taken it too far. Many of the demands, made at the initial start of the protest, talking about the repeal of the finance bill, has been done. The president has said, you know what, we are not going with it again. As a matter of fact, there's even going to be pay cuts. Yet we are seeing people on the streets, even business owners. I was seeing some videos of some business owners saying their shops were burnt and looted and all of that. I'd like to know your reaction to this. Has it been taken a notch too far?
Thank you so much for the opportunity to attend this show. nothing has been taken so far, too far. Number one, the issue of bulging youth population in this country has been a topic of discussion for a very, very long time. But our politicians have ignored everybody. And remember, our politicians are some of the best paid parliamentarians in the world, Kenyan MPs. People raised issues with the finance bill. The business, the industry raised issue with the finance bill. Different interest groups raised the issue with the finance bill. But then the government coalition within parliament ignored everybody, and they went up and passed the bill. And this is what has triggered all these reactions. Number one, we have a president that I consider rarely listens to anybody. He only advises himself. And now this is the reason why the bulging youth population that are jobless have reacted.
Is it within the context to say he only advises himself and rarely listens to everyone? Because I remember in his speech he said he has heard everyone loud and clear, and hence is sort of reviewing many of those policies that, according to quite a number of people, are anti-people. Does that reflect a president that doesn't listen to anyone?
He had demonstration. He had voices of the people who are now reacting because he had ignored. If it's true he was really listening to the people, he would have had the issues that were raised before the parliament passed the bill. He ignored it. Now he had the reaction from the people. And then when he came on TV, he talked down on the population. For 2 minutes, Reading Riot Act and walked away. Because I know he was shocked because they didn't expect such a thing. We have a big problem in this country. These people have abused the constitutional provisions. And because of opportunism. And now we are in a situation where he is now opening to talk with the youth. But there is no clear framework. What he had proposed has been rejected by stakeholders. Now we don't know what is going to happen because these young men, the demonstration, yes, have been infiltrated by goons, but goons who have been paid by politicians because they want to sabotage, to diffuse the pressure that young people have brought up. And we are very happy because the politics of this country will definitely change. And the young people that were ignored will come back in force. The police our police literally do not have even capacity to handle these young men. And if it is left to go this way, these young men will continue to be radicalized. And we don't know how the situation will end up. Now they are targeting individual MPs, banning their offices, banning their houses. A lot of MPs, even our ministers, cannot even now fly flags on the road here. It's not a very good situation.
Okay. Now, let me bring in Zaha here. Zaha Indimuli Diana Lucy is actually a human rights defender and also executive director of a Mali organization, also located in Kenya. Zaha, let's look at what some protesters have actually said, that the protest has been infiltrated by goons. I mean, you're a young, vibrant youth yourself. Feel free to react to some of the things Caleb has said, and even Junecynthia. But what's your take on the protest so far and some of the decisions the president has taken?
Thank you so much. My apologies for the technicalities. I think something also Caleb forgot to mention is the hijacking and the abductions that have been happening within the parameters of this finance bill. And I think importantly, it has been very scary to see just how far-fetched this discussion has been in terms of bringing to light what exactly young people are asking for and how important it is to just sit down and put credible statistics and analysis on what young people want and use that as intelligence to figure out what they actually want changed. I have been in the protest, not necessarily in the front line, but I happened to have served at the medical team. And I think as of yesterday, there was also the whole aspect of the video that was trending on how police were able to harass us, even as a medical team, in terms of just actually retaliating what we were so afraid of, that they were supposed to kill people. And they said it to our faces there that they were killing more and that we were supposed to sit at the medical tents and wait for them to send the bodies in. And you see, when you're having a society, or rather even a governance that does not necessarily put credibility on its work, when you're having protesters being abducted, being harassed by police, where is the essence of democracy when young people are taking it upon themselves, something that we have not been able to see in Africa in a very long time, that young people can be able to mobilize and study and sit down through the Constitution. And I think it's been such an overwhelming experience, but importantly, very encouraging to see young Kenyans putting it upon themselves to fight for a country that has taken 63 years to develop. We have seen these fights between young people and police over and over again, but this is the first time that we're also having a generation that is digitalized, that was able to credibly have all these police brutality cases and all these abductions and all other anti-human rights activities.
Za, are you there? I think we...
Yeah?
Okay, we lost you for a moment. Please, you might just want to touch down briefly. Yeah.
Are you able to hear me right now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
This is also part of the problem. They infiltrate even the internet. But regardless, it is just to share, but it is way beyond police controlling these young people. And when I say young people, I mean us, we being there as well, because I've been in all the protests except the recent ones. I think it's not a war of young people trying to get into these offices. I think it's just an accountability reminder that it's high time that African leaders, and in this case, Kenyan leaders and politicians, take leadership as seriously as, as it should be. We're having young protesters being shot at with live bullets. We're having tear gas being evoked around medical tents. There's a lot of inhumanity that's coming out very strongly from these protests, and also a lot of disconnect between the service of the government and what the people expect. We're seeing a lot of abductions that are these young people who want to present their children to be there at the forefront of democracy, but you have to sit down and pray and wait for your child to come back alive or dead, depending on what the police decide in this country. And I think it's just high time that we see a change, not only in how police operate and in the service, because they did transform into a service for that purpose, but it's also high time to see government and governments take maximum and full accountability, as they should, to serve the people of their republics, but importantly to ensure that the priority should be the people of the country.
All right, Zaha. I mean, you said quite a number of things. You actually did dwell more on the activities of the police officers and men in uniform. But quickly, 30 seconds. I'd like to go to you, Junecynthia. What do you think is the way forward? What do you think the government, needs to do for young people to feel inclusive or included in the, in governance, and for all of this protest to sort of become a thing of the past and people go about their lives? What's the way forward?
Right. Thank you so much. My thoughts on this protest will be, we're seeing a leader of government who has failed to take into consideration the views of the young people who are now actually the majority of the population in Kenya. The president had called for dialogue with these people, the people who are protesting. However, the young people on the internet, the young people on Twitter, the young people on TikTok actually just stood their ground, and they stated that they would like to actually have an engagement with the president on the platforms they are familiar with. They're tired of these forming the different dialogue groups and all that. They want the president to meet them on Twitter. They want the president to meet them on X space and discuss their issues.
Do you think that is realistic? Do you think at the end of the day, just briefly, do you think that would at the end of the day result in anything positive in terms of an outcome?
There's a fast for everything, and this is the first time we've seen mobilization on social media.
Okay.
Not mobilization by a. So I think this is very possible because that is where this all started. That is where this is what Gen Z is familiar with.
Okay.
So if you come down, then maybe we can see a way forward.
All right, June, because we're pressed for time, I would like to, of course, know briefly your opinion. Zah, 15 seconds. Do you think it's realistic having a social media, I call it town hall with the president and young people?
I think, in fact, it's very important, and it actually reduces the cost that he would use to also have these meetings in State House, which is exactly what young people are saying, that money is not allocated correctly. He can come to social media spaces and have a chance to speak to a larger number of young people, have AI facilitate the recommendations up in a document and summarize them in case there are too many. But I think it's high time we stop the normal way of just forming committees that have never worked anyway. I think it's just time for change, and digital activism is here, and I'm happy Africa is taking the lead, especially Kenya.
Interesting. I can really feel the fire. But Caleb, your final thoughts. Do you think it's the way to go? A digital town hall?
Digital town hall, whatever the president had proposed, I don't think even if it is plausible, because how can that kind of distraction be structured? How will president take information from 100,000 people that will join that kind of a meeting? What I would propose is that there need to be a structured engagement with clear demands, clear issues to be discussed. Number one, issues of meritocracy in employment. We have a government that entirely people are employed through favoritism. That is one of the challenges that have driven corruption in the government. So we need to deal with meritocracy in employment for the young people of Kenya, so that young people who are talented, who are doing all this work, can get space within the government and also within the private sector in a structured way.
All right. Thank you so much for your contribution on the program. I honestly wish we had, the luxury of time. We would have extended this beyond the, of course, allocated time. But once again, thank you. Caleb Wanga is the coordinator of Usalama Reforms from Nairobi, Kenya, and also Junecynthia Okelo, Associate Economic Governance Officer, Pan-African Lawyers Union, Arusha, Tanzania, and also Zaha Indimuli Diana Lucy. That's a Human Rights Defender Executive Director, a Mali organization from Kenya. Once again, amazing ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me.